Hello, and welcome to the We're Not Stumped podcast. I'm your host, Mike Boland, and I'm a congenital amputee of the right hand. In this show, I will interview other amputees and allow them to tell you their incredible life stories. I'll also feature family members of amputees and others who support the amputee community, all in an effort to discuss the challenges and triumphs of those living with limb loss. So stick around and listen to inspirational stories and find out why we say, we're not stumped. In this episode of the We're Not Stumped podcast, I'm extremely happy to have Jeff Soelberg on as my guest. I first saw Jeff at the Amputee Coalition annual event in Desert Springs, California a couple weeks ago, and I saw him put on a session called Bringing Awareness of the Struggles for Finger Amputees. As I later got to know Jeff a bit more, it came as no surprise that he was putting on a session at a conference because giving back is something that Jeff has done for many years. And we'll get into that during our conversation with Jeff. So Jeff, thank you so much for being a guest on our podcast.
Thank you, Mike, for having me. And it was great meeting you at the conference. And I look forward to getting to know you more in the future with the activities that we do and stuff, and how we're both trying to give back to the community.
Absolutely. And you know, you did it and you continue to do it by a lot of the things you do, including that session. And one of the things you talked about during that session was your story and how you got here. And if you don't mind telling that story, because it's a much different story than me, since I'm a congenital born like this amputee. So Jeff, I'll give it up to you.
Yeah. So I worked for a gas refinery in Salt Lake City, and July 6, 2016, my life changed completely. Going from a new high, let's call it. I was 6 months into my second marriage, and we had just gotten back from our honeymoon. Her not being a winter person like me, we had to wait till summertime and go someplace with a little warmer. And you know, it was a week before that we had our honeymoon. I get back to work, and about 2:30 in the afternoon, I'm a machinist. I'm working on a pump shaft, and my glove gets caught, and it pulls my hand into the lathe, at which time I pull it out and have a nice fountain coming out the end of my hand. It pulled 3 fingers off. I am also on the ski patrol, and I took and applied pressure first off, and we have rescue and an on-site clinic there at the refinery. I called to one of my coworkers to call rescue, and I sat there for a second, you know, analyzing things, and I'm a little over 100 yards from the clinic. And rescue are individuals just like me doing their everyday job, and realizing it could be 5 or 10 minutes before people start getting to me. My coworker walks up to me, and I looked at him and I go, "Walk with me." And we started walking to the clinic. And I didn't know if I'd walk in, but each step was a step closer to safety, so to speak.
Wow.
And I get into the clinic, tell the nurse to get every bit of gauze she has in the room and start packing and wrapping, because we got to stop the blood flow. And sat down, waited for paramedics to get there. They loaded me on a stretcher, and I give kudos to the paramedic that put the IV in my arm as we were rolling out the gate of the refinery.
Wow.
I get to the U of U hospital, and Trauma 1 hospital. Got there about 3:30 in the afternoon, and being Trauma 1, I was stable pretty much, pretty high as a kite at that point in time. it was 11:30 that evening before I went into surgery because of the heart attacks and whatever else ahead of me. I spent 5 days in the hospital, and laying there in the hospital bed, I'm sitting there trying to figure out what my life's gonna be like. 53 years old, missing 60% of my hand, and I'm the husband, the father, the breadwinner. What's life gonna be? And I start YouTubing and stuff, because no one could tell me that.
Yeah.
And so that is something I never want to forget, because that's what fuels me in giving back to the community. I'm an advocate, a peer support visitor. I do calls around the world to other individuals that have recently gone through some type of accident, could be even cancer.
Sure.
I got several people that have had cancer and lost limbs because of that. And I've been blessed because my accident was a work accident, and workers' comp has paid all of my medical bills. And I have 2 prosthetics, one being a myoelectric that turns me into a cyborg.
Oh, look at that.
And
Wow.
my other one is a mechanical one, being 3D printed titanium fingers.
That is amazing. I think,
And
was that the one you had at the coalition event?
yeah, it is totally amazing in the sense that the fingers are capable of lifting 150 pounds each.
150 pounds. Wow.
And I have tested them to real close to that. I only had a 2-finger prosthetic that I lifted 255 pounds.
Whoa.
Deadlifted.
Wow. Wow. Yeah, I was going to say both those weights are not something I'll be touching anytime soon, but that's fantastic. Matter of fact, you were showing, here's my old hook from back in the day. That's mine. Yeah, it's been a while, but it's from the 70s.
And they're still one of the most used.
Yeah. So Jeff, I know that we had talked a little bit before we got on camera, and I was talking about how many resources are on your website. You're a wealth of knowledge, and you like to share this. So how do people get a hold of you, whether it be social media or your website, and find out more about Jeff?
Okay. My foundation, jeffgivingaHand.org, is where the website is. And dating myself a little bit, I tried to set it up kind of like the Yellow Pages and stuff. But I don't know everything or everybody. So I look for individuals to send me information, and I will add it to the website as I get it and stuff, to add more links so that individuals aren't afraid to travel. Because, hey, my leg might break going to Iowa. And if I can have a link to a prosthetist there in Iowa that, and so where we met, the Amputee Coalition conference, it was kind of funny. On Saturday, I was getting ready to leave, and I was actually out in the pool with a friend of mine from New Hampshire.
Wow.
And we're sitting there hanging out and stuff, and one of her friends' leg breaks, has a hiccup, call it, a screw or something comes loose of which one of my friends that was there at the conference is a CP. And, I just sent this individual, my friend's information, and she gives her a call. She comes down, fixes her leg, and away she goes. It's that and that's the good aspect to all the social media stuff. There's enough bad out there, trying to create good stuff.
Yeah, and your website certainly does that. Like I said, there's so much resources on there that I wasn't aware of, and even the Amputee Coalition. And admittedly, I probably only found out about that with maybe 2 months before the actual event, which the event was in August. So I didn't know it existed. And it's nice to know that there is a wealth of support and knowledge out there for people like us.
Yeah, and that's back to laying in the hospital bed. That was the other thing. I started trying to figure out what my life was going to be like. So I'm YouTube and Google searching and stuff. And that's when I kind of came up with the idea, Google's great and stuff, but it's a big rabbit hole at times too. So I was trying to get as much information into one area.
And you did a great job. As I was envisioning your time in the hospital, one of the things you shared with me, you injured your right hand, but you are also right-handed. So what are the challenges with that?
It's a big mental challenge because we are a reactive society. And even individuals, so you walk up, you meet a person, I reach out to shake their hand with my right hand, and I only have two fingers, a thumb and a pinky. And they look at it like, okay, how do I shake your hand? Or I have one of my prosthetics on that, walking up to them, they had no clue I even had a prosthetic. And I reach out and they're like, oh, how do I shake your hand? Just shake my hand. Just be as gentle, but it catches everyone off guard. I sit and beat myself up because it's been 6 years, but I still reach for doorknobs with my right hand. And if it's old style round doorknob, a lot of them I can't twist with my right hand. So then I'm beating myself up going, okay, when are you going to learn to use the hand that'll open the door?
What's interesting about that story? My mom, unfortunately, she passed away. But she said when I was a baby that I would always reach like instinctively first with my right hand. So I probably would have been right-handed. I mean, who knows? I mean, it's been so long. I've certainly adapted, and when it comes to doorknobs, that's an interesting thing. Because sometimes I'll be walking in, with a package or something like that, and got it in my hand. What I do is I roll the circular doorknob right here. And I'd say it's a 85 to 90%, but I know that your forearm is different because of your injury, so that may not work for you.
You probably have a lot of calluses further up your arm.
Yeah, that's a great point.
I'm still in the baby stages, baby skin there.
No, like I said, but your injuries is completely different than mine. So I don't even, I wouldn't be able to, grasp that part of it, but I appreciate you sharing. One of the things I saw too on your social media that I thought was fantastic. Matter of fact, it's a story that actually parallels something that happened when we were talking during the Amputee Coalition. Anyway, I'll get back to the picture. There was a picture of you with two young girls, and your ability to share your story and yourself and almost like the next generation coming up and making them feel easy is something that's very powerful of you. So how did that all come about?
I want to say back to having more compassion and empathy for everybody. But then, so my significant other at this time is a special ed teacher at junior high.
Wow.
And so we have a lot of discussions about the kids that she has in her classes and stuff. And, kids can be cruel.
Yeah.
Bullying and everything. So society for a lot of years put individuals like us in the corner, out of sight, out of mind. We're not productive individuals, is the way it was thought as. And so trying to, hey, I have a lot to give. You have a lot to give. We have great stories. Too many teenagers nowadays are committing suicide and stuff over, little things that shouldn't be so big that they die over. And so we need to, again, have more compassion and empathy for individuals, but also be able to talk and tell stories and, just live life. And so I've teamed up with different individuals. I've found a network of advocates in all different realms of adaptive people. And these individuals, we link together and try and teach people, to accept everyone. And recently I met, first off, one little girl. So I live in a Class A RV, and I use a laundry service. And I take a bag of laundry on the weekends to them, and I pick up a bag of laundry. And I had my prosthetic on one day, and the lady that works on the weekends, she has her daughter there with her now and again. And her daughter comes walking out, and I kind of flip my finger, and she hears it and looks at me, and she goes, "Your finger's not real." And this little girl's only 4 years old. And we sat down and we had a discussion, and something that we are now, her mother is a school teacher most of the time, just it was summertime. So she had the second job through the summer type thing. But we are putting together a little thing where we can sit down and discuss, how do you talk to individuals? Because I'm sure you had it growing up, and still probably today, where you're out and someone notices your hand and you get the looky looks. Sit there and look away, look away, look. And, just come up and ask me a question.
Sure.
And that's what I try to teach. Now, if an individual has lost a limb for a reason, we're going through phases, and we go through all different types of phases at different times and stuff. But if the individual is confident with their situation, whatever it be, most likely they're open to discussion about it and will tell their story and stuff. If the individual isn't at ease with their situation, those are the ones that will tell you to bug off, go mind your own business. But it's their right to, but let's, again, have more compassion and learn about individuals before making any judgments.
Yeah, that's across the board. I love that. I agree with that so much. What's next for Jeff? I know that you're a CPV, which is a certified peer visitor, if I'm not mistaken. You do quite a bit.
Yeah.
What's next?
Well, I'm getting out speaking more.
Nice.
I'll be speaking in San Antonio here in a couple of weeks at prosthetic convention. And in June, I spoke in London to hand surgeons.
Wow.
It's just educating. Again, people look at us finger partial hands as just being little boo-boos. But next to your organs, your fingers are the most used item on your body.
Wow.
From the moment you wake up to the moment you go to sleep, you're using them.
Wow. That's a great point. I never thought about it that way.
And that's, until you lose it, you never do. And it's getting out to educate the individuals. You know, ladies struggle big time. I've had many discussions with ladies that, you know, maybe the door slammed and took the tip of their finger off. And if they were someone that went and got their nails done every couple of weeks, it's devastating for them to go to the nail salon and, oh, I only have 9 nails to do now instead of 10.
Mm-hmm.
You know, cancer.
Mm-hmm.
I know a couple individuals that have had cancer and lost a finger because of that.
Wow.
You know, we never know the reason for it. And, you know, like with my accident, my life changed in a split second.
Oh, yeah.
And, you know, I'm just turning the lemons that I got dealt into lemonade and trying to help as many individuals as possible. And again, on the finger partial hand side of things, insurance companies, they say your fingers are only a cosmetic item. You don't need them and stuff. And they deny individuals prosthetics. And so I'm advocating, looking for people to get me in front of people to tell the story and show individuals that, you know, it might be a small thing. Like they do impairment ratings on individuals. I've had 3 done. And so on a total body impairment rating, an individual that's lost their leg, that's 40% impaired.
Mm-hmm.
My 3 fingers is 39%.
Wow. So you're right there. Wow.
Yeah. Yeah. So, you know, but we are taught early on, bigger, better, faster, quicker, you know, and that's what's in our brains.
Yeah.
So everyone looks at it, oh, it's just a little thing. Use your other hand and stuff. And it's like, yeah, I've learned you just adapted on your side.
Yeah.
But I am very directional now and stuff, where if I'm at work working on a pump or something, I'll look at the guy I'm working with and I go, okay, I'm on this side. Because if I'm on that side, I'm standing on my head trying to do stuff.
You know, it's funny you say that. I love working on cars. I still work on cars, and one of the most important tools in my toolbox is a vice grip, because I can always clamp a vice grip on this side and, you know, put my ratchet on this side, right? You know, so it's
yeah, and that's how you adapt.
Yes.
You know, and I've always been mechanically.
Yeah. Yes.
That's what my job is.
Yes.
And stuff. And you know, it's hard to ask for help and stuff, but it's being strong to ask for help.
Wow.
And, it's probably been a year and a half ago, changed spark plugs on my truck. And that was, for a two-handed person, a couple-hour job. That was an all-day job for me with the help of my son.
Yeah, absolutely. But you did it. That's the nice thing.
Yeah.
You get it done. You feel like the feeling of accomplishment is still right there.
And that's it. And that was something early on. I could have had the pity parties. My hand hurts. I can't do this type thing. But I took a step back and looked at things as a child learning to walk.
Wow.
And there's a great big world out there, and let's go see what we can do and see how we can do it.
Yeah.
And so, I do road bike, mountain bike, motorcycle, ski patrol, kayak, and I even water skied a couple of years ago. I grew up water skiing, and it had been a lot of years. I got up my third try, and I'll tell you, my bicep hurt.
Yeah. Wow. It's been a long time since I did that, but yeah, that's quite. I saw a video of you. You were throwing around a heavy sandbag. I was like, oh my gosh, so again, we talked about it earlier, but you're so into sports and you're still into all these things still. And I think it's fantastic.
Well, it goes back to, I say, my parents were great examples for me growing up, both good and bad. My dad had bad knees all of my life growing up. And he put it off until he retired. And then he had one knee replaced in September and the second one done in January. And he was retired. He got him a gym membership. He went down. They had the TV screen in front of the treadmill, and he'd sit there and watch his TV programs for 3-4 hours a day, walking on the treadmill. And he got to be in the best shape of my life doing that.
Yeah.
And then my mother, on the flip side, she started falling, getting compression fractures and stuff. And she'd go into the hospital, go to the rehab center, come home, and she'd say, I'm just going to sit here until it quits hurting. And we couldn't convince her that it was never going to quit hurting. She had to get up. She had to move. She had to keep up her strength. And ultimately, over a 15-year time, a fall is what took her because she just kept getting weaker and weaker and weaker. So, excuse me, I am not going to put that burden onto other individuals. I'm going to be as strong and as active as I can be for as long as I can be. And jokingly, I sarcastically a lot of times will say, my heart will explode in some workout, but I'm not going to be the one that for 3 years is sitting on the couch complaining that they hurt all day long.
And you're doing that even with your hand the way it is. It's inspirational. I know you talked about this earlier too. You said that keeping your blood flowing actually helps you not have to take the medication that you may normally have to.
And that's totally it. That can be just on a exercise bike or even going for a fast walk. Get out, smell the roses and stuff. And, through all the stuff that I do, I work with psychologists and stuff, and they call it grounding, mindfulness and stuff. That's what brings us back and calms us down from anxiety, PTSD.
Interesting. That's good to know. I not having to gone through a lot of that, but still liking to work out. I can tell you that nothing sets my day up better than a morning workout. It just makes me think clearer and makes me feel better, you know. So I advocate for that as well, regardless of what you have to start with. I like the way you think.
Totally.
Yep.
And it could just be yoga and meditation.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yoga's tough.
I mean, yeah.
I'd rather do push-ups than, than yoga. Oh.
And it is. And it's so funny. When I first started, you'd be sitting there and I'd try and do a pose and I'd have a bead of sweat rolling down my head. I know, hold it and stuff. And then as time goes on, I learned, some days you're off balance a little bit. It's okay to go over to the wall and just tap the wall a little bit to keep your balance.
I just learned something.
And then the next day you do it and you've aligned yourself back up and it comes easy.
Okay. No, thank you. I appreciate that because yoga is one of those that's just so tough. I mean, it's I know it's great for mind, body, and spirit, I think they say, but gosh, it's hard to keep those poses. I'm with you. So thank you for that. I took a lot of your time. I really appreciate it, Jeff. You gave all of us where we learn a little bit more about you, and you're very inspiring. And your story is incredible, and what you're doing to give back is, just very much appreciative. And I can tell you this: you're helping more people than you even realize. So thank you, and thank you for being on the show.
Thank you for having me, Mike. And I look forward to talking and doing more stuff with you in the future, working together with our foundations and stuff.
Absolutely.
That's how we create more for everybody.
I'm going to say one thing. I know I was closing it out, but we had a conversation earlier, and one of the things that I'm starting to learn, even though I started this foundation with passion and a vision, I didn't realize how impactful it probably will be. How many people are impacted by not being able to afford their prosthetics? It's actually a bigger thing than I realized. I just started it because I just knew I wanted to give back to this part of my life, but boy, is it needed. And so I thank you for what you're doing, and we definitely need to work together.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Totally.
Yeah. Well, thank you again. I appreciate it.
Okay. Thank you, Mike.
That was the We're Not Stumped podcast, hosted by Mike Boland. If you want to be a guest on the program, reach out to Mike at his email address, mike@mikeboland.com. This podcast is produced by One Hand Man Productions. If you are looking to start your podcast, go to onehandmanproductions.com.